Hello everyone, welcome to the Linux tutorial on how to make a VST3 compatible audio plugin. Now VST is a registered trademark of Steinberg Media Technologies GmbH, so just important to keep that in mind. So I'm going to be using Ubuntu today, or Ubuntu, however you say it. I'm not a Linux user, so yeah. It's crazy, we're going to be using Linux. So first thing, sudo apt-get update in the terminal, and that will get us all the packages we need, at least update our package manager. And also it's telling me I need a software update, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And yeah, I'm just trying to download OBS so I can broadcast my screen here. So that's why I'm kind of installing all this stuff, but I think it's good that you guys know what I'm installing. Also Mesa utils, you might want to install that, not sure, but just wanted to show you guys so there's like something that I install that you don't realize and then something doesn't work, just want to keep it stable. So then I'm going to do another update, and yeah, now we're ready to download the Steinberg SDK. So we're going to go ahead and do that and download those audio plugins, save file. It's going to be a zip, so we can just open it with the archive manager and extract it to our downloads. Alrighty, and now once that's done, then we can go inside the SDK folder. We'll see there's a couple of scripts which will run that later. And inside the VST3 folder, we have a license, which is very important to read, especially if you plan on redistributing some of your plugins or this code. It's important. You'll actually, if you want a proprietary license as opposed to open source, you definitely need to fill out this form and send it to Steinberg. And there's also some usage guidelines. If you're submitting a plugin or just publishing it, you need to follow those. And inside this public SDK folder, inside samples VST source, we can look at our A delay, one of the sample plugins, and see that the code is in somewhat English. But the problem is we got to convert all of this instruction on how to make our plugin into machine code. And to do that, we need a compiler. Now, we actually already have our compiler on Linux. It's the GNU compiler. Apple, we use Clang, and Windows, we use the Visual Studio. But we don't need any of that on Linux. But what we do need is we still need to install something called CMake, which will help us generate a make file. So we can look in the README file and see what they have to say about Linux. Pretty much the same thing as the other platforms. We just create a build directory inside the SDK. I'm going to go ahead and run this script, which copies the VST2 files to VST3. So I'll just go ahead and try to run that in terminal. Just go to the directory that has that script inside of it and try and run it. So having some issues copying it. Control C doesn't work very well. So I'm just gonna do the good old right click and paste that, and then /. And yeah, should run, copy all the files. All right, so now we're gonna go inside that folder, VST3, go back to the README, and yeah, pretty much it's just gonna say download CMake, so we gotta do that, or it will say try and do this, try and run CMake. But you'll notice if we try and do that, if we go to the if we make a build directory, new folder, build, and then right now we're in VST SDK, so we go into VST3 SDK, and then we go into build, Then we tried doing CMake. It's not going to work because we don't have CMake. Now it suggests that we run the sudo apt install to get the command line version, but I'm actually comfortable with the GUI version. I kind of like it better, so I'm going to go to the CMake website and download the Linux version, which is just a script that installs it. So we'll save that file, the .sh. It's going to go ahead and download. And this one's a little bit tricky. I tried to run it just like I ran that previous script because they are the same type of file, right? Tried to double click it, which that wouldn't work because it would just open it up in text edit, which is not what I want. So yeah, that's not going to work. It will open up here in a second. I was trying to figure out what did I do here, or how can I knew it opened something, but it was just kind of lagging. There we go. Text editor isn't responding, so just go ahead and close that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back 3 directories back to our downloads and just try and run this script like I would using the /. That's not going to work though. It's going to deny permission. So that's telling me that this isn't executable. So we need to go into the properties of this file and change its permissions so that it's not only read and write for everybody, but it's also executable. That's the important part. So check that box. And now we can try and run it in the terminal, just drag and drop it. And I was kind of confused. I was like, did it open up as a text again? But actually, it's just showing us some stuff, and we can press return and enter, and it's going to advance through it. And eventually, it's going to ask us, do you want to install this? Yes or no? Or do you accept the license? Just type Y and then Y again if you want to install it. And there we go. It extracted everything into that CMake folder. And we go into bin, binaries, and CMake GUI. And there we have it. There's our good old looking GUI. And we can go to downloads, go to our SDK folder. Make sure it's the VST3 SDK folder as our source folder. And then our build folder as I'm just remaking it here because I tried to build previously, but it didn't work. So I'm going to recreate that build folder inside of there. And now we can go to generate Unix make files. That's what we want to make. There's all this other stuff, but we want to make a make file. So click that. And yep, it failed. And that is because it is saying there's this package X11 missing. So I just went on the internet like I usually would and found, oh, here, try this. So there we go. It's just going to have us install the X11 dev. So tried to do that, see what happens, see if it helps. And there's another one, Xorg. I don't think that did anything, but I tried it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead, go to that, copy that, and then paste it. And yeah, it will always ask you to install something, and you just type Y and then it will continue. This is kind of the old-fashioned way of installing programs through the command line. If you're Mac and Windows, not used to this that much. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and recreate the build folder just because there's a bunch of old stuff in there. We want to start nice and fresh, see if it will build again. All right, choose, and yep, we're going to try this again. And spoiler alert, it's not going to work because there's something else missing. And spent hours trying, or at least an hour, trying to figure out what the problem was. What is this package that we're missing, xcbutil? I couldn't find it anywhere how I needed to install it until I went on this GitHub forum, and it's like, hey, look here. And I was like, oh, Steinberg Media. And there's actually these packages we need to install that I had no idea about. So go ahead and install all of those. I'm sure that's probably going to help with this. So just go ahead and copy this. I'll leave this link in the description so you guys can go there and just copy all of these. These are probably all of the packages we need that we're missing. So yep, going to copy that and just double checking to see if we did everything. Looks like we did, so I'm going to go ahead and paste this big command in there, and it's going to download everything. All right, so let's give this another go, recreate the build folder as we always do. All right, so now that is working. So we're gonna try this again, and another spoiler alert, it is going to work. So let's go ahead and click that generate button. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, just waiting for it to install. Okay, so it looks like everything installed. We can go ahead, click that generate. It's gonna do all the work for us. And there we have it. Once it says generating done, that's how we know that everything worked. So I'm going to go ahead and see what we need to do to build the VSTs now that we have our make file. So yeah, basically we need to just navigate to the directory where that make file is, which is going to be our build folder. It's going to be in there, so we can just do sudo make, and it's going to start making all the plugins for us. You can see it's building all the objects, and once it's done, we can actually go to that build folder again. So let's go ahead. I'm kind of outside all the directories here. Ignore all the crap in my downloads. Yeah, I tried to build a digital audio workstation from source. One that I found didn't work out too well. But anyway, we can actually go inside this directory and see, kind of look inside our VST. It looks like there's a shared object file, which is the kind of executable on Linux that our program is going to pull from to use our VST. So I'm going to be using Qtractor as the free digital audio workstation, and I'm not going to bother setting up all the audio stuff. That's kind of a lot of work, but I will leave a video on how to do that, a good one I found in the description. But yeah, I'm just assuming if you guys are on Linux, you probably know, or at least are a little bit familiar with how to do that, but I will leave again a helper video so you guys can see that. But anyway, now we downloaded this file, this Qtractor. We're just going to go ahead, go to properties, permissions, allow executing, and now we can double click on it. It's going to open up the Qtractor, which is again free. Amazing. It's all right. I've seen a video on it that was pretty decent. So now we're going to add a track, make it audio, go to plugins, add, and VST3, and there we go. There's our hello world with UI, and it's amazing. I wouldn't recommend resizing the window because it's going to crash the program, but you can click all the buttons. It just doesn't show very well. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.